Good afternoon, Rotarians. Right. Just when you thought you got rid of me, I'm back.
Kevin, where's Becky?
I'm past president, Kevin Kassir, and I'm filling in for President Tim Lilwitz, who's off on a well-deserved vacation. So first off, thanks to Susie Willems and Ganesh Gempath for being greeters today. So let's give them a round of applause. And now we will go to Colleen Rogers Messenger, who will give us a moment of inspiration, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, the four-way test, and we'll have an opportunity to greet each other. So Colleen, thank you for doing this.
Good afternoon. As we gather here, I can't help but think life is a stage and we're all just cast members, trying to hit our marks, remember our lines, and if we're lucky, get a standing ovation now and then. So here's to the sound of music in our lives, the rhythm of purpose, the harmony of community, the choreography of showing up for one another. Here's to the moments when we feel like we're defying gravity, taking a risk, lifting others, refusing to let fear steal the spotlight. Some days it may feel like we're stuck in Les Miserables, but as Rotarians, we keep turning the page. We know that even into the woods, there's a path forward and the sun will come out tomorrow. Our guest today knows all about a funny thing happened on the way to the forum for the Civic Center. Jeff is wicked smart, a chorus line of leadership, and proof that when you say yes to big ideas and community dreams, you get a legacy worth more than a dozen Tony Awards. So whatever role you're playing today, whether it's the music man or fiddler on the roof, know that you're a part of something bigger. You're part of the story, and that story is good. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the four-way test.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And greet your fellow Rotarians.
Nice to see you.
Kevin, good job up there too.
Hey, thanks, Jordan. Yeah, you too. That was lovely. I am. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. We have a few guests today that I will be introducing. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing, and then we will recognize everybody at one time. So first off, I have Amy Beatty, retired attorney with Brick Gentry Law Firm, a guest of Graham Gillette. We have Rusty Beasley, Vice President of Modern Companies, a guest of our new member, Nakona Dayton. We have Skylar Mayberry Mays with Grandview University, a guest of Claudia Schabel. And Carol Villeneuve, the wife of Dr. Doug Dorner. So welcome, everybody. Next, we have our segment of Where in the World is Club number 27 for our guests. We are the 27th club in the world amongst 36,000 clubs. So this is an opportunity to follow some of our members and where they're going in some interesting places. First off, we have Ann Schmerla, CEO of Blank Park Zoo, who had the opportunity to lead a group to Kenya with their daughter Emily. They went to wildlife parks, visited local schools, the Maasai village to learn their culture, and a rhino sanctuary where they met the last two remaining southern white rhinos. She even saw a rotary building in Narok, and you can see it in the photo on the right. The next one is some of our members attended the ribbon cutting ceremony at the Ellipsis Barbara Lee Noble campus. This campus is dedicated to supporting girls in foster group care as well as supervised apartment living. You might remember the Rotary Club of Des Moines Foundation donated $50,000 as our community grant last year to support the kitchen and lounge area, which you see in the photo. Our community grant applications will open up next month, and Eric Oberfeld is our appointed grants committee chair for this year. So if you know folks that might be interested, time to enter those applications are coming up. Also today we have a birthday in the club, Melissa O'Neill. She isn't here today, but please send her a wish of a happy birthday. And next, and by popular demand, I will say, is our Did You Know segment is back with me here today. And coincidentally, I had one ready to go, but we had to shelve it due to a heavy meeting, a lot of topics there, but it was perfect for today's speaker. So the topic today is about William Shakespeare. So here's a Did You Know, and hopefully you'll be a little bit smarter than you came in earlier today. So William grew up in a middle-class family. His dad had some great jobs. One was a beer taster, so I would really love to have that spot. Even though he ended up in fairly grew up in middle-class means, he ended a very wealthy man, owning the biggest house in town with 30 rooms. He owned 2 theaters and a theater company. And he started out as an actor. Didn't work out too well, and so he proceeded to write, and he was prolific, writing 2 plays a year, getting to 39. We owe a lot to William, besides plays. A number of phrases and words in the English language come from him. So here we go. Arch villain, wild goose chase, it's Greek to me, melted in thin air, I haven't slept a wink, break the ice, and in a pickle. And some of the words: eyeball, laughable, bump, bedroom, gloomy, priceless, zany, and leapfrog. So who knew? While at the same time, he is reported to be a very bad speller. So figure that on out. Now, the last thing I have for you, does anybody know, I like to ask questions once in a while, and Jeff, you got to hold off on this until the end, but does anybody know the Macbeth superstition in theater? Oh, we got one right there. Yes?
I believe that you cannot refer to the word Macbeth, you have to call it the Scottish play.
Okay. Yep. So what I found out was that if you say Macbeth in a theater,
Or at Rotary.
this is what you have to do, and I'm not going to do this, David. You need to step outside. You have to spin around 3 times, spin over your shoulder, and say a line from another Shakespeare show, and that will keep the evil spirits away. So there you go.
Do you know the name of his wife?
I do not share.
It's Mary Arden.
Really?
Mrs. Shakespeare.
Very good, Arden. All right, Randy Worth is going to come up. And he's going to tell us about Wheels Fellowship. And then we'll just have Graham Gillette come on up after that and introduce our keynote speaker. So Randy, thanks for leading the
Kevin, your BlackBerry, which ages me some, if you would pencil in September 19th, and that is a Friday, and I'll apologize ahead of the time that that's a Friday, from 2 to 4 in the afternoon, but it's all I could get for the last time that we'll probably be able to go to the Albach collection. Now, if you haven't been there, it's one of the top 5 collections of Chevrolet products in the country. It's amazing. Even if you don't like Chevys, you'll find something there that you like. One of the cars, Chevy only made 3 of, and this is way back in the early 1900s. One, they don't know where it's at. The GM Museum has one, and the Albach collection has the other one. It alone is worth going to see. 2 to 4, that Friday afternoon, I'll put things in the bulletin about address and things like that, but hope you come, hope you enjoy it, because it's probably the last time that we're going to get to go because of Dennis seriously thinking about retirement. And his family reportedly doesn't want the collection, so whether it's going to be open to the public or sold off, who knows. So we took this last opportunity to go. Thanks.
Jeff, you want to join me up here? Is that about right?
Should be good.
I'll use that one. Get mine started. All right. Well, our speaker today, everybody knows our speaker today, is Jeff Chelsbig. Jeff Chelsbig came back to Iowa in 1995, if I'm correct, and has been leading in what is now Des Moines Performing Arts ever since. And I think it's fair to say that Jeff's hand in this community has been one of those things that has changed Des Moines greatly. Des Moines Performing Arts is one of our greatest institutions. My son once said, I think I had said a statement about, with Des Moines Performing Arts, we punch above our weight or something like that. And my son said, nope, I disagree with that. He says, I think Des Moines Performing Arts is the perfect institution for Des Moines and does exactly what we should do in Des Moines. And it shows the greatest things about Des Moines. I mean, you think about the building, was started because a bunch of people got together and said, we need a Class A structure, and that Class A structure was built. They did the same thing when they recruited Jeff, and we thank him for his time over the last 30 years. This is his curtain call, if you will. Jeff is retiring. He was supposed to be retiring at the end of August. That's been extended a little bit. The search is continuing, so he's going to be there maybe through October, I guess, is what we're saying now. But I thought it was a great opportunity. We thought it was a great opportunity here at Rotary to have Jeff come and speak. And he didn't want to speak. He wanted to have a kind of a Q&A, which I think is going to be kind of fun. And so I've got a bunch of questions. I've got way more questions than we need. I have enough that my timer says it'll take us 75 minutes to get through. We're not going to be here that long. So we'll rapid fire some of these questions to Jeff. Welcome and thanks for coming. So you've led Des Moines Performing Arts, as I said, since 1995. How has the arts community beyond Des Moines Performing Arts changed in Central Iowa during this time?
You know, it's interesting. When I came to town, there were, we had the kind of the 10 poles of Des Moines Symphony, Des Moines Metro Opera, Civic Music Association, all long established performing arts organizations. The Des Moines Community Playhouse has been a player for a long time. But what I've noticed over the years is as we have grown, I think the rising tide concept is true, there are now something like 12 community theater groups in town compared to maybe 3 when I came here. There are more performing arts organizations than ever before, and I think that is, you know, I use the term all the time when people say, "Are you competing with fill in the blank, with Sherman Place or whatever?" I say, our competition is people staying home. So if we can get people to come out to events, that is a win for the community and for everybody.
Perfect, perfect. You've been around the arts a long time. Before you came back to Iowa, you've been in the arts. What have you learned about the community, looking through the theater lens? What have you learned about community and building community?
Well, from a programming standpoint, I think one of the things that I learned very early on was that this is and I use this term all the time, well-traveled, well-read community. People are smart and they want to be challenged and they want to learn. And I think when you program through that lens, then people will come along with you on the ride. We have a lot of shows that are light and fluffy and fun, and some that are very serious. We have one right now on stage at the Civic Center, a show called Parade, that is a musical about a man who was lynched, a Jewish man lynched in Atlanta, Georgia in 1915, being wrongfully accused of murdering a child who was working in the factory where he worked. It's a very powerful show, but it's certainly not Mamma Mia. I'm going to tell you that. But for those people who are along for the ride in our Broadway series, it's one of the reasons I think that we have such a strong support is because we do take on shows that are sometimes challenging and very smart.
So along those lines, has Des Moines and being in Des Moines in Central Iowa taught you something about the arts that you didn't know?
Yeah, I mean, I really do think never underestimating the audience is the thing that I've learned. And I remember early on, when I first got back I grew up on a farm in northern Iowa many years ago, and then after college went to Illinois and Minnesota and then Florida. And when I came back to Iowa, I knew instinctively that Iowa was, again, filled with a lot of smart people. And I think at first I probably was trying to be a little too safe. And yet I learned that really bringing shows that will challenge and that are high quality was really what the audience wanted. So that's probably what I've learned the most.
So let's talk a little bit about what it is to be a leader and what you've learned about being a leader over these years. Tell us about a challenge that you faced as CEO that fundamentally changed your leadership style.
Well, when I got here in 1995, the organization was very different. My predecessor was, rightfully so, was very risk adverse. And so a lot of the shows that came to the Civic Center were brought in by outside promoters who would rent the facility. The good thing about that is that there's very little risk to the building because you're selling the tickets, you have the ticket revenue, and then you take out what you need for your expenses and you give the rest to the promoter. But you don't get to choose what's coming. You take what comes down the pike. So it was a big shift for us to change to becoming the promoter, the presenter of these shows, taking the financial risk on them. And to do that, I had to bring along a staff who was not used to selling season tickets. We didn't have a season ticket program for anything. The symphony has always had a season ticket program. The opera has always had one, but our facility didn't have that. So I think what I learned was that it was really important to be able to share what the vision was going to be with our team, and then they were able to come along on the ride with that. So our vision was to try and make sure that we could become a place where we didn't have to, and I don't want to make it sound, I mean, we are a major stop on tours, national tours for Broadway shows because we have 13,000 subscribers and because we have a 2,700 seat theater. And so 65% of the tickets for every show that we do are already sold before we go on sale to the public. Very few theaters in the country can say that. So the vision was to get to that point, and getting people to understand where you're heading, I think, is always really one of the most important things.
Is there anything think about my son Will's comment? I mean, I think what he was talking about was something like that. I mean, 13,000 season ticket holders is really kind of hard to get your head around in this community. That's a lot of people.
Well,
And I think he was saying, it's what's this community demands.
it's more subscribers than Minneapolis, Chicago, Kansas City, or
I mean, that's amazing. And that says a lot about it says a lot about Des Moines, but also the vision of you and your team to have the bravery to do that and set that up. Talking about your team, is there something that maybe the public never sees but it's essential to the success of DMPA?
Well, I think our education team, and full disclosure, his daughter is on our education team here at Calvary. She is part of a 5-person team that does fantastic things. He did not feed me that question. I would have said that even if somebody else were up here. Our work with young people extends statewide because, first and foremost, we know that the research is that exposure to the arts and culture at a young age is something that can change lives forever. And so we have a commitment of doing so many things at so many levels that a lot of people don't know about. Every time you see a bunch of school buses around the Civic Center during the school day, that is likely students coming to a program we call Applause, which is touring shows for children during school time. And the children pay $1 to come to those shows that we subsidize by about $10 per student to put them on. But we serve 40,000 students a year with that program alone that are coming in from as far away as Storm Lake. I don't even know what time they have to get on the bus to come down here from Storm Lake for a 10 o'clock show. But that program is really important. We are just wrapping up our 6th week of summer camps for kids. We have a musical theater camp where 30 kids per week come into the Temple Theater. They are cast in a show on Monday morning and they perform that show on Friday afternoon. Most of the time they know their lines by the time that happens, but it's a really fun experience. And then our Iowa High School Musical Theater Awards being one of our signature programs where we are recognizing excellence in musicals that are performed at the high school level. That program started 12 years ago with 9 schools. We are now at 111 schools statewide that participate in that. And so those are just some of the things that most people don't know about.
I really didn't put him up to that question. I'll tell you, he's actually got ahead of me because I had another question that said, let's talk about the most important area of DMPA, arts education. But he already's done that. But I will say that if you've never attended the High School Musical Awards performance, if you can get a ticket to that in what's that, usually in June, it's really fun. They also live stream that often on public television. It's a fun night. It's great. And those kids give you so much energy because they're all in, right? I mean, they're all in. It's great. All right, so show's ended. We're going to be wrapping things up here. You can be honest with us. Was there ever a moment in the last 30 years where you thought, I can't do this anymore, I'm going to walk away and do something else?
You know, when I got here, again, it was one of these things where we didn't have a lot of money. We had a 16-year-old building, and my predecessor had done a capital campaign to raise $2 million for some renovations on the building and what was then Nolan Plaza, and had about 20 things on the list and got 2 of them done with the $2 million. And so we had very little money, and I remember we had like $200,000 in our plant fund, and one of our chillers went out, and it was gonna be $100,000 to fix that, and I was like, oh, God. We just kept working at finding ways to shore that up. But to answer your question, I remember the very first show that I booked was, and again, when I started, we had a membership program. Some of you may remember you paid like $25 a year to get a pre-sale for things, and that system did not work well, I'm gonna tell you. Having a season ticket program is much more stable. But the very first Broadway show that I booked was Fiddler on the Roof, a national tour of it. And it lost $30,000 for the week, and I remember waking up after that was done saying, am I gonna have a job, the next day? Thankfully it got better after that, but the early days were pretty scary.
Yeah. And one more leadership question: Is there something, a saying or a story or quote or something or a moment that you've experienced that really guides your leadership thinking? Person maybe?
Yeah, so some of you in the room may have known David Kreitner. So David Kreitner is the person who really gets the credit for the Civic Center. It was his idea after a group of business leaders led by Jim Hubble Sr. went to the city and said, let's build a performing arts center. And there was a bond referendum that failed. And so the project died. And David's family, the Coles family, had owned what was the KRNT Radio Theater, which was a 4,000-seat theater at 10th and Pleasant. And that had closed in the mid-'70s. So if you wanted to go see a show, you had to drive to Ames to go to Stevens Auditorium. And David is the one who said, no, this is a great idea, let's do this. And so he and John Fitzgibbon and Buzz Brenton raised $8.5 million in 90 days to build the Civic Center and what is now Coles Commons. But the first time I met with him, which was really scary, and David was a very short person, but for me it was like, oh my goodness, David Kreitner. But what he said to me was, I don't want this to turn into just an entertainment palace. I want this to be something that has a broad spectrum of things. And he said, and I have very high expectations. And I never forgot that. And it was really a guiding light. I tell our team all the time that quality is the best marketing tool you can have. If you put on high quality shows, that's the best marketing tool that you can have. You may not like the show sometimes, but you will never argue about the quality. And that's, I think, one of the key things that I learned.
All right, let's change a little bit to the art itself. Is there a show, performer, or initiative that didn't get the attention it deserved, but you always carry with you?
It's funny. There's a musical that I love, and it never got the recognition that it should have gotten, and it's The Bridges of Madison County. It's written by Jason Robert Brown, who is ironically is the composer of the musical that we have at the Civic Center right now, Parade. He is one of the most amazing composer lyricists of our time, and it's a show. It's kind of, people think, oh, The Bridges of Madison County, that's a schmaltzy, romance novel kind of thing. Yeah, maybe, but that show has amazing music. And if you go to New York and go to a cabaret space, like 54 Below or someplace, the chances of hearing a song from The Bridges of Madison County are almost 100%. That score is so beloved by people. And we had the good fortune of opening the tour here, the national tour here, and it was a magical moment. And I had run into Jason at Tony Awards when he won the Tony Award for Best Score for that show, and he said, if we ever come to Des Moines, I'll conduct. And he did. It was the only city of the tour that he conducted. And musical theater fans, when they learned that Jason was actually conducting in Des Moines, wow, that was cool. So it's pretty cool.
who is the best Broadway performer currently performing, in your opinion?
Oh, man.
And there's a right answer.
Are you talking about musicals or anything? Ooh, there's so many talented people. I think one of my favorite actresses is Laurie Metcalf, who is going to be coming back to Broadway. She's, maybe you know her, maybe you don't, but she's terrific. I'd go with her. What's your correct answer?
The correct answer is Cynthia Erivo.
Oh, yeah, she is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had the opportunity we were in New York, our daughter was dancing there one summer, and we bought day of tickets to see The Color Purple, which she won the Tony Award for. It was the most amazing performance I had ever seen, and I've been a big fan ever since.
Sorry, I missed that.
You're wrong on that one, but that's all right. What's a moment that you knew that your work was really important? I mean, that there's something that happened that you knew what you were doing was making a huge difference.
I think it was in the first year when we started our education series, and part of what I saw when I first got here, and I had been in Florida. I was in St. Petersburg, Florida, at a performing arts venue, and we'd started an education program like the one I described, where national touring shows coming in for school kids. And prior to us starting that, a commercial promoter had rented the building and they were bringing in this production of Pippi Longstocking, and it was a horrible production, but it was sold out. And they were selling tickets to schools for $3 or $4 a piece, and I just saw that and I thought, what happens if you could bring great stuff to the stage? So we started very humbly with a very small program, and just being at those early programs and seeing kids coming in. We were talking about this because Graham has come to some of those performances. The electricity in that room of the Civic Center, when you have 1,500 of these young kids and the house lights go out and they scream with excitement, because it's a magical thing, and many of them have never experienced that. And it will be something that they will remember for the rest of their lives. So that, I think, is
I think that's right. I mean, those life-changing moments that happen in theater and over Des Moines Performing Arts is breathtaking. As Jeff said, our daughter has invited us to come to a couple of these shows that are part of the Applause series, and we just sit in the back row, and it's so much fun because the electricity is amazing, and we should be more like that as adults. But my daughter said that one of these shows that was part of the Applause series, a girl walked in and her eyes were gigantic, and she said, "I've never been to Broadway before," which is kind of a great thing to say, but she got to go. And I mean, that's the important thing, the work that goes on there. Speaking of that, what would you say to a young person that is interested in a career in the arts? What's the best way to prepare themselves for that?
I think it's really about saying yes more than you say no, trying a lot of different things. Many times when I'm talking to young people, I remind them that if you come to a show, say a Broadway show like Parade, in this case with this show, you'll see 25 people on stage, but there are there are more people off stage that are touring with the show, and then when you add our people into it that are working on the show, it's like 4 times the number of people off stage than there are on stage. And the great thing about working behind the scenes is it doesn't matter how tall you are or what voice range you have. It's about, can you do the work? And there are lots of great jobs to be had in this. And that's something that we are really trying to promote a lot with our High School Musical Theater Awards, is not just recognizing the students that are on stage, but the people who are behind the scenes. And we have a program where, as part of this High School Musical Theater Awards, where we allow students to send us a 1-minute video of what they did on their show. If they're the lighting designer or the publicity person or something, these kids are amazing. And in 1 minute, they can tell a fantastic story that just excites you so much about how thoughtful they were about what they were doing and how successful they were. So I always try to say, I'll tell this story, I've told it many times, but I worked in, my art form is singing. I was a singer for many years in choral organizations around the country, not professionally, as an amateur. But my passion in high school was being behind the scenes and working as in lighting and in sound and different things. And then when I went, the first 2 years I went to college at a small school in Minnesota, and I worked in the theater department there as a volunteer and studied theater, and then I transferred to Iowa State and read that there was an opening, there were people being hired to be stagehands at the Iowa State Center, which was Stevens Auditorium and the Hilton Coliseum. So I went, put together a resume with all of the cool things that I had done in theater, and I sat down for my interview, and the interviewer looked at only one thing, and that was that my permanent address was a farm in northern Iowa. And he looked at me and he said, his one question for me was, do you know how to drive a tractor? And I said, yes. And he said, you're hired. Be here tomorrow at 7 o'clock. And that was my entry into show business. Was the fact that I knew how to drive a tractor got me the job. So I think saying yes is something that is important.
And Jeff probably doesn't remember this, or maybe he does, but he's true to his word. When our daughter MK was in high school, I brought her over to meet with you. And she was interested in dance and pursued dance like Skeet's daughter did and others have. And you gave her that same advice, and that is take every job and learn about the industry. And she does that. She now works at the MPA in the education department, and that you helped change your life, and I appreciate that. So let's go back to you singing. Again, the lights are going down. You're about to leave, so you can be honest with us. After the theater is empty, everybody's gone home. Have you ever stood on stage and tap danced a little, sung a little bit, said a few lines?
Every single night. No, I never have.
You ever been up introducing a show and flubbed the title, mispronounced a name, said something that was embarrassing?
A lot of theater companies have somebody introduce the show where they do a curtain speech. I pride myself in not doing that. I think I've only done maybe 5. 1 year we announced our Broadway season at the final performance of so I
No, not really.
yeah, don't do that.
You protect yourself. Smart. You talked about Bridges of Madison County. Is there a Broadway show that you've watched repeatedly that you really like that maybe the public hasn't liked?
Besides the Bridges of Madison County. No, I don't think so.
You have a pretty wide range of things you like, right?
Yeah, I mean, so within a typical year, I will go to see around between 40 and 50 shows in New York and London, the 2 places that I usually go to. And that's a lot. It's a lot. You sit through a lot of crappy shows too, to be honest. Not every show on Broadway is great. Many of them are, but so I don't know. I think I would guess once in a while there's something that that I like and that it doesn't have a life after that. But it's really hard. It's hard when people ask like, "What's your favorite show?" It's really hard because there's just so many.
Are Des Moines audiences different than those other places you go?
I tell this story frequently. We did the first play that we presented during my period of time was a show called Doubt, and it was a 4-person play that had won the Tony Award on Broadway. It is about it's set in New York. It's about a nun who is convinced that the young priest in the parish is having some inappropriate relations with one of the children. And it's set in the 1960s. It's a very it's a fabulously written play by John Patrick Shanley, and we decided to do it. And the luck of the draw was that the woman who played this nun, her name is Cherry Jones. She's a very well-known actress. If you look her up, you'll know exactly who she is. She decided to do the tour, and the story that I can tell you that I will always love is that the tour was not that many cities, but it started in, I think it started in San Francisco, and then went to LA, then Phoenix, and then Des Moines. And remember, she created the role on Broadway, so she performed it on Broadway, then she's doing a tour. And opening night, she said, at the party afterwards, she said, first thing, we shouldn't be doing this show in barns, but if we're gonna play a barn, this is the barn to play. Pacific Zone. But the second thing she said was, I heard laughs tonight that I haven't heard since New York. And what she means is, a lot of times, even if it's a serious play, they are trying to inject some laughs in certain places. And for her to say that, she said, what she was saying was, your audience has got this better than the audiences in LA, San Francisco, and Phoenix. So I will never forget that, and I think that's something that I constantly remind myself is that we do, again, coming back to what I said earlier, very smart audiences, well-read, well-traveled.
All right, let's move into the next phases here. There's a tradition among U.S. presidents and CEOs of leaving a note in the desk for a successor. What might yours say?
Don't answer this question at a Rotary. No, it will be trust the audience.
Is there a piece of advice you wish someone had given you when you started as CEO?
I think the main thing that I did come to is you just really have to hire great people to work for you. I mean, my predecessor, oftentimes I loved him as a mentor, but he was also very frugal, and so he would hire people because they would work for a certain amount of money, and that's not a good reason to hire somebody. So I think it's really, we finally got to the point where we realized that you get what you pay for, and I think that's something that was, well, I wish I would have had that advice wiser.
So thinking about DMPA 10 years from now, how do you hope the organization evolves after your tenure?
Well, we've had on our to-do list for 10 years or more to have a space dedicated to education.
Also not my question.
Yes, I know, but that is something that we are still aspiring to. The challenge is there's not a lot of money to be had in building an education space, because you don't want to charge what it really costs to do that kind of work. But there's some great opportunities in downtown, and I hope that we can land on one of those. We have some that we're looking at right now. So,
because you need a flexible space, right? I mean, there's going to be.
Well, we just don't have any space at the Civic Center. The theater itself takes up 80% of the space. So there's no rehearsal rooms, there's no classrooms or anything like that. So that's really what we want.
Right. What should never change about Des Moines Performing Arts, and what's something that is likely to change and needs to change in the future?
I think something that should never change is really our commitment to young people, and I think that's very, very important. And what should change is curtain times should change. We're experimenting with that because a lot of people want to go early and go home early.
Oh,
So that's something that we're working on right now.
Right, that's interesting.
She's giving you a cue.
Last question.
Last question. I'm actually at my last
Okay,
question. Will you be sneaking into the back row of DMPA after you're gone? I mean, what I'm asking is, are you sticking around Des Moines, or are you heading out someplace else?
My girlfriend lives in Utah, and so I'm planning to spend way more time out there. I'll still have my place here, but probably be in Utah, sneaking into the back row of the Eccles Theater there.
Maybe occasionally here, right?
Occasionally here, absolutely.
Jeff, we thank you for coming today, and as I started this program, we sincerely thank you for 30 years of service to Des Moines. You've made Des Moines a better
Well,
place.
it's been my honor to serve in this. So thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Jeff, as I've shared before with some others, we don't give many standing O's. So that's really a credit to you in creating this vibrant, accessible performing arts. I mean, you know, to Graham's point, very few have impacted the lives here and the quality of life like you have, so thank you. And Graham, great job with the format. Graham's our new chair of the program committee. So starting off on the right foot, appreciate that.
Big shoes to fill.
That's right, they are big, aren't they, Dave? Okay, upcoming meetings, more good stuff coming. Remember, you need to RSVP by Wednesday at 9 a.m. or Kitty will not be happy with you. Think of someone that you could bring to these upcoming meetings and expose them to the great club that we have. So first off, on August 7th, we have our district governor, Norman Hinkey. And I think Tim's also gonna share some of the numbers about our club, some of our targets and metrics, financials, that type of thing. So that's the topic for the 7th of August. On the 14th, we'll have the CEO of Hy-Vee, Jeremy Gosh. So that will be very interesting. And then follow that up with Maya Chung, the Chief Medical Officer of Kids OR, which will be very interesting and all different meetings. So think about that and plan your time accordingly. Speaking of your time, we also have coming up August 12th, a morning fuel featuring Dave Busick. We'll learn more about his life and his leadership in the news industry at KCCI. So it'll be very interesting for those who haven't attended. Morning fuels, they're at again 9 a.m., Freedom Blend Coffee. We try to do it once a month, and it's a great way to better get to know a particular member, but also get to know others that come for a cup of coffee in a relaxed atmosphere. So really encourage you to put August 12th at 9 a.m. on your calendar. So thanks everybody for being here today, especially our guests. Welcome. Jeff, thank you. And hey, make it a great Rotarian week, everybody. We are adjourned.